Asmara sat at her desk, tapping out the final email of the day. She sighed, exhausted from a hectic day at the office. Her mind wandered to thoughts of home, but an unusual craving tugged at her. She longed for a treat, something she hadn't indulged in for a long time, a zinger burger with fries and a cold Coke. Usually she brought homemade meals to work, but today felt different. She deserved a reward for surviving such a tiring day. Deciding to give in to her craving, she left the office and walked toward the restaurant just 5 minutes away. After handing her car keys to the valet, she stepped into the bustling eatery and placed her order, settling at a table while she waited. As her thoughts drifted, she noticed 3 young boys playing in the restaurant's play area. The eldest seemed to be around 10, while the younger ones were likely 8 and 5. Their carefree laughter warmed her heart. She spotted their father sitting nearby, carefully studying the menu with a blank expression. Something about his demeanor caught her attention. It wasn't the usual joy or fatigue parents often display while watching their children. His face was expressionless, his movements slow and deliberate. The youngest boy ran over to his father, tugging at his sleeve. "Papa, can I have Maggie and a burger?" he asked innocently. His father didn't respond, just continued staring at the menu. The boy eventually returned to his brothers, and the father finally called the waiter, inquiring about prices. His voice was low and his pauses between words were long, as though he was calculating more than just the cost of the food. Asmara couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She tried to focus on her meal when it finally arrived, but her eyes kept drifting back to the man and his children. Why was she so fixated on him? She shook her head, dismissing her thoughts as nonsense, yet the image of the father sitting so still and distant lingered in her mind. Suddenly, she realized the man was gone. His chair was empty. She glanced around the restaurant but saw no sign of him. Pushing the thought aside, she focused on finishing her meal. Moments later, a loud crash rang out from outside. Startled, she looked through the large glass windows and saw the aftermath of a car accident. Her heart raced as she hurriedly paid the bill and made her way to the parking lot. Passing the wrecked car, she saw a body lying motionless on the road. A crowd had gathered. Someone said the man had walked straight into the car's path, and he had died instantly. Asmara's breath caught in her throat. She pushed her way through the onlookers to get a closer look at the victim. Her blood ran cold when she saw the face. It was the same father who had been sitting in front of her moments earlier. Goosebumps pricked her skin as she backed away, her mind reeling. She hurried to her car, but as she drove home, the scene kept replaying in her head. What had driven him to such a tragic end? Was it the weight of financial burdens? Had he been unable to afford food for his children? Her thoughts spiraled, and the memory of his lifeless expression haunted her. She felt a deep sadness wash over her. In their culture, male children were often seen as blessings, but for this father, they had somehow become a burden too great to bear. His silent suffering had gone unnoticed by everyone, including her. Asmara gripped the steering wheel, her heart heavy with guilt and sorrow. She realized how little people often understood about the hidden struggles others faced. The father's story, whatever it had been, was now forever untold. And the innocence of his boys, unaware of the storm raging inside their father, flashed before her eyes. She was left with the unsettling thought that sometimes the greatest battles are fought in silence, invisible to those around us until it's too late.